Hey y'all, welcome back to our very bookish channel. I always get so excited to film these. I probably say this in every single one, but I love these videos. Editing, Amanda hates editing them. They take so long to edit. There's so many cuts and clips and transitions and sounds and pictures to pop up, but filming Amanda and reading Amanda, love filming these because it's so exciting to look forward to what's coming out, what's new, and get excited about what your reading future may hold. Plus, I know y'all like these videos because these videos are our most viewed videos, so y'all really like these videos. We've gotten a lot of views on some of our ARC reviews, and of course our Frida vlogs are very popular. So give me a thumbs up emoji in the comments below if you like these videos, because I know we love doing them, and I know a lot of people are seeing them, so hopefully y'all are really liking these. Starting off July 1st, I only have one book July 1st, and that's Party of Liars by Kelsey Cox. And this is a thriller. I think y'all are gonna see a lot of thrillers are coming out in July. So I've got a lot of thrillers on this list for July, and we're starting off with Party of Liars. And this is a locked door murder mystery. There is a extravagant Sweet 16 birthday party. Someone ends up dead, and they're trying to find out who killed this person. You've got lots of rich kids, lots of rich parents. You've got a mansion type setting where there's probably lots of rooms, probably lots of mysteries, probably lots of dirty little secrets these people are keeping. And I don't know, sometimes the mood hits me for these kind of novels, and I thought this one might be fun to read, to bring your all's attention to, and to put in my most anticipated TBR jar.
Hey guys, it's Jen, and I'm here for our most anticipated July and August. We are now midway through 2025. As crazy as that sounds, it's going really, really fast, and I have a lot of books to talk about, so I am not going to go on and on and on. I'm going to get straight to the books and why we're here. The first one that I have is July 8th, and I hesitated if I should put it on the list. One of the reasons is it's the author of The Quiet Tenant. There was a lot of hype on that book, and I didn't end up loving it. I didn't hate it. I didn't understand what the hype was. I didn't feel like it was worth the hype, I guess, was the best way to say that. The book is called Our Last Resort, and I'm not sure how to say the author's name, so I'm going to skip it. You'll see it on the screen. I don't want to butcher anyone's name. And it's about Frida and Gabrielle, who are siblings. 15 years ago, they escape a cult, and they end up arriving in Utah at this stunning Era hotel in the middle of a desert. I don't know how long they've been apart. I don't know if it was the whole 15 years, but they intend on catching up after however long. And of course, as most of the thrillers go, there's a body of a beautiful young woman that shows up, and Gabrielle is the prime suspect. And then there's flashbacks to what actually happened whenever they escaped this cult, and I think you get more and more information as you learn if Gabrielle is actually the killer or not. And I feel like in these books, it's going to end up being Frida. I feel like, and I think it's funny, you know, Frida, even though she spells it different than Frida McFadden, but sometimes I can always almost tell what it's going to be, so it makes me not want to read it. I almost didn't put it on the list. That was very close. But there is a quote that says, "It builds towards a shattering climax that uncovers the fate of the murdered Era guest and poses the question, how well do we ever really know those we love? And it's gripping and intense." We'll see. We'll see if I end up reading it. And I do have an electronic ARC, so I may or may not be reading that, and then you guys will know.
Starting July 8th, I have The Secret Market of the Dead by Giovanni DeFeo. This book sounded different and interesting. The description says it's an Italian-inspired Gothic novel. It's about a young woman who discovers she can cross worlds between the world of the living and the world of the dead. And in this world of the dead, she finds some kind of power. And years later, her father chooses his son, which is her brother, to be his successor instead of her. And I think she kind of challenges her brother at this, and she uses some of her powers during this rivalry. It says something in the description about all things come at a cost. I want to give this book a chance because I think it might be a hidden gem.
The next one, I have a physical arc. It's July 8th, and it's How to Survive a Horror Story by Mallory Arnold. It's a legendary horror author who ends up passing, and a group of people are invited to go over their will, and it turns into a game. And I thought it was a little interesting because it mentions how it's a horror story because the house that they're in apparently is quote unquote hungry. I don't know what that means, but it sounded really interesting. I also really love the cover and just like the purple and the wax seal with the skull in the middle. Sometimes covers get me too. So I was planning on reading this one, and my hope is to do an arc review for this, so stay tuned.
So next I have The Bloodless Queen by Joshua Phillip Johnson. This book also sounded very different from anything that I have read. So in 1987, some fences went up around a lot of land to preserve the natural reserves of the land, and there were like 132,000 people that lost their lives, but those people didn't die. They were resurrected into Fae, and they all retreated to these nature reserves that were fenced off. And they've all just gone there and no one has seen them anymore. You're following Evangeline and Calidor, and they are sort of patrolmen of these fences. They repair the fences, they walk the fences, they make sure that nothing weird's going on. They have these magical tattoos, and I don't know what kind of magic that brings, but it helps them with their job. It also mentions they have a 7-year-old daughter, so there is a young kid thrown in here somewhere, and they start to unravel some of the mysteries and uncover some of the secrets of what really went on back in 1987 when the harbors were constructed and these nature reserves were preserved. So I don't know, it sounded different. The Fae in this book sound more evil than what we're used to reading, where it's like romanticized. So I don't know, just sounded cool, and I thought it would be a fun one to read.
The next one is also July 8th, and it's called Night Watcher by Daphne Woolsoncroft. I don't know this author, and I think it might be a debut, but it's about Nola Strait, a nighttime radio host in Portland, Oregon, and she listens to hauntings and cryptic sightings for a living. But one foggy evening, a caller describes an eerie scene that triggers memories of Nola's childhood escape from a serial killer, and she fears he's back to finish what he started. Sounded interesting. I thought I would give that a try. I don't have the ARC or an electronic ARC, but if I don't get one, I have a feeling I'll end up reading this one.
So let's talk about Night Watcher by Daphne Woolsoncroft. This book kind of got my attention. Honestly, the cover, it felt eerie and creepy, and I read the description and I feel like those are the vibes this book is setting. So you're following Nola, and when Nola was a young girl, she had a traumatic experience with a stalker, and you're fast forwarding to now she's an adult. She has a podcast or a radio show, something like that. I'm pretty sure it's a podcast. And in this podcast, she kind of follows true crime events, and she gets some kind of mysterious caller calling in, and she feels like she's being stalked again. And so she is trying to, one, figure out who the stalker is, why they're stalking her. Is it the same one from her past? Do they mean her harm or not? I don't know. But I still like the podcaster, social media influencer vibes in books. I haven't read too many. I know there's been a lot that have come out, but the ones that I have read, I have enjoyed, and I'm just not really tired of it yet, so I added this one to the list.
The next one's a little bit out of my comfort zone, and me and Amanda were talking about, I think we're going to be doing this one in our series about viral books, because I heard about this one and people are talking about it online. There's actually 2 different books that are coming out. It's on the same day, actually. And it's about a world that I don't know that much about. It's fan fiction, and in particular, Harry Potter fan fiction. And they call it Dramini, and it's envisioning Draco Malfoy and Hermione Granger as star-crossed lovers, basically. And the first one is Rose in Chains by Julie Soto, and they say it's a dark romantasy, both of them. And the other one is The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Brigette Knightley. And I think it is much darker than like the Harry Potter series, so it's definitely adult oriented. But I believe she and I are going to be doing Rose in Chains, and stay tuned for that, and you can see our reactions to that. I think it's gonna be interesting. I'm always up for trying something new, and I am a Harry Potter fan, so it'll be very interesting to see the parallels for this fan fiction.
The next book is Welcome to Cottonmouth by J.S. Bell. This book is a thriller. It is about ex-CIA or FBI spies. So of course, they can't be left to their own devices. They are sent to Cottonmouth, Texas, which is a small rural town that's very much hidden. And they are sort of under surveillance of the government just to make sure that they're not doing anything crazy. And everything is going fine until 2 women who are being chased by a criminal stumble upon this town. And then the sort of leader of this town has to make a decision. Does he help these women and track down this criminal, find out all these secrets? Or does he do what he's told and just let it go, push them away, and put blinders on? So obviously I feel like he is going to help these women, and all the spies are going to come out and take revenge or vengeance or track down this criminal, and I am kind of excited for that. My final book for July 8th, I know it's a lot, y'all, on July 8th, is Never the Roses by Melissa K. Lambert. And this book sounded really interesting. It's also a romantasy book. You're following a sorceress who has retired. She has retreated back into this little cottage in the woods where her only interactions are with animals. Her only friends are animals. She's just very much secluded. She just wants to be left alone and live out the rest of her life in peace. But she decides to take a trip out of her little cottage, and she comes across the library of a sorcerer that she was once enemies with. And she steals a book from this library and takes it back to her cottage and starts reading it, and a lot of chaos unfolds. She starts messaging this old enemy, and they start talking back and forth, probably about things that are found out in this book or the subject matter of the book, and they start to form a bond. And right as they start forming this kind of relationship, her enemy gets called back to do work to fight the queen that she once followed and worked for. So this felt a little bit more unique to me. It is enemies to lovers, but you're following sort of an older person, a retired sorcerer, and it seems like there's a conflict of interest there because she is falling in love with this sorcerer that used to be her enemy, and then he gets called to fight the queen that she has dedicated her life to when she was an active sorceress and helped build her queen up. So she's kind of got conflict of interest there. You don't know what's going to happen, who she's going to choose. And I'm really also curious about this book and how it relates in the story. There's not much of a description of that in the blurb about the book. So I'm really excited to see what happens with this. I have already started reading it. I did get an ARC from Edelweiss, and I was very in the very beginning. Like, I haven't even read past the information that's in the description. So very beginning. The writing is good, and I am excited to finish this book, and I'm sure I will be talking about it in a wrap-up or in another video in the future. So if you want to hear more about this, after I'm done reading it, maybe I can post a short or something to let y'all know about it. Just put it in the comments below so I can see how much interest there is in this book. And if there's enough, then I will post a short about it and let you guys know what I think.
The next one is from the author that I just bought. It's called The Spell Shop, and her name is Sarah Beth Durst. Obviously, this is a very pretty cover. It's like a cozy fantasy, and I was really interested in reading this. But she has a new one coming out, and it's called Enchanted Greenhouse, and it comes out July 15th. This is a standalone novel, just like this one, I believe, is also a standalone novel. Enchanted Greenhouse is about Turlu Perna. She broke the law and was turned into a wooden statue. Yet one day she wakes up on a nearly deserted island full of greenhouses. The only human on the island is a grumpy gardener. When she learns the magic to sustaining the greenhouses is failing, she knows she has to help even if she's breaking the law again. And I haven't really done much with cozy fantasy. I thought this might be an interesting book too. I like to switch things up. I don't like doing all like thrillers or horror or just all fiction or just all fantasy. I like to break it up. So I thought this one might be a nice breakup to some of the horror and thrillers that I read. And I did look to see if there were any romances, especially, you know, it's summer, but I didn't see many romances that were catching my eye. So I might find one along the way, but for this specific video, I didn't see anything in particular that I thought, oh, I need to read that. So unfortunately, I don't think I have any romances on my list, just cozy fantasy. That sounds like it might have a little bit of romance in them. So stay tuned for those.
All right, y'all, we are finally out of July 8th and moving on to July 15th. I have Not His Wife by L.G. Davis. This book is a very familiar trope. It is about a woman who wakes up, has no memory, and her husband tells her, I'm your husband, you're my wife, this is where we live, everything's fine, you love everything in this house. But the things in the house are not hers. They belong to a woman that used to live there. And she starts getting curious about why would the woman leave these things? These are precious things to her, like jewelry and pictures and keepsake items. Why would she just leave those behind? Like, what happened to this woman? And the housekeeper in this estate that she lives in tells her, you're not his wife, don't believe him. So I love these kinds of books because you can't necessarily rely on the narrator because she has no memories of things. And I just love how these kind of things unfold and discovering all of it just seems like these books keep my interest because you discover something and then you discover something else, and then you discover something else, and then the husband does something crazy, and then a friend or the housemaid tells you something, and they just seem to go very fast, and you're always getting hooked deeper into the book with all these little revelations. So I wanted to put this on the list. I do feel like it's a bit of a gamble because it could also go very bad. Never read this author before, but the premise sounds fun. It is a trope that I like, and I am interested in reading it.
The next one's more of a summer thriller, which I did find a couple of those. It's called The Lake Escape by Jamie Day. It comes out July 15th. She wrote Block Party, which I originally had as a physical arc, but I ended up putting it in a little free library, so I don't have it. And it's called Summer Suspense. Julia, David, and Erica grew up together, spending summers at their Vermont lake houses for as long as they can remember. Now adults with their own sullen teens, endless mortgages, and low voltage sex lives, the three friends have amassed secrets over the years. David's girlfriend mysteriously disappears during this one summer they're all together, and Julia and Erica wonder just how well they know their lifelong friend. A search is mounted, an intricate web of lies, deceits, and betrayals span generations starts to surface. It sounds like another almost like domestic thriller, but on the lake, I guess, with people who have known each other forever and secrets are coming out. So it sounded appealing to me, especially for summer. I definitely feel like I'll be reading that. I do have the electronic arc for it. I have too many between physical and electronic arcs to get through. I know I won't get through all of them in order to do arcs, so we'll see which ones I end up picking and choosing, but if I love it, you'll see an arc review, so stay tuned for that.
My final book for July 15th is Of Flame and Fury by Mikayla Bridge. And this book, It's described as Fourth Wing meets Iron Widow. I know. I hate it when people compare books. Like, this is like Fourth Wing, because it's probably not. I've read a lot of romantasy books chasing the feeling I got from reading Fourth Wing, and it just hasn't happened yet. But this book, you're following a young woman on an island, and on this island, it's very popular to race phoenixes, the birds. They literally race them. And her team is pitted against another team, so she has these rivals, and there are, it says in the description, says enemies to lovers, and her rival Kel is sort of thrown into some kind of conspiracy because there's a very prized bird someone is trying to buy. So the description isn't very helpful. I know it has to do with racing phoenixes, the birds, racing these birds. It's an enemies to lovers, and there is some prized bird that creates this big conspiracy around. So that's all I know. It sounds very different than anything that I have read. I don't know. It's intriguing, and I thought, since it's a romantasy debut from this author, that I would put it on my list and see what I think.
The next one was another one I was hesitating putting on my list just because sometimes the description, it sounds interesting, but could really go away where it just ends up being too weird. And I don't know how much I love reading books that cross a line with how weird they end up getting. And it comes out July 15th. It's called If You Love It, Let It Kill You by Hannah Pittard. And fans of Miranda July's All Fours seem to be who this is geared towards. And I did really love that book. And that's where I felt like it had moments of very strange, different things going on in that book. And that's why I thought, this might be interesting. And it says it's fiction that's a unique voice and story. It's about a woman whose ex-husband writes an unflattering portrait of her in his book. One day she wakes up changed. A remarkably ridiculous midlife crisis ensues. A deeply nuanced and disturbingly funny examination of memory, ownership, and artistic impression. It just, a unique description on top of that. So I think I might check this one out. We'll see what happens. The next one I'm definitely reading. I have a physical ARC, and it's called The Girl I Was. Geneva Rose is who wrote this. She typically writes thrillers, and I love her thrillers. And she wrote this kind of based, I think, on her own life. She had a concept about what she went through, I think, in her college years and 20s, but it's not autobiographical. It's just an idea based on, from what I remember reading, based on how she felt and wishing she could go back to redo something. And I'm not entirely sure. I could be wrong, so I want to watch when I say that, because I remember thinking, oh, that's interesting that she based this on something about her own life. And it's about a girl who, she's in her late 20s, early 30s. She ends up losing her job and her relationship all in one day. And she ends up getting super drunk. She wakes up, she is back in the past in the early 2000s while she would have been in college. And it's not that typical story that you see, like movies mostly, where you wake up in your younger self and you are wondering what's going on because was that a weird dream? Weren't you just older and what happened and now you're back in your younger self? She is her older self waking up at that time, and she goes to find her younger self. And basically, I think she is going to try and talk to her younger self and maybe make better choices. I don't know. But it sounded really interesting. I'm definitely going to be reading this, so look out for an ARC review for this.
On July 22nd, I want to talk about a book I've already read. It's called The Red Letter by Daniel G. Miller. This is the second book of the Orphanage by the Lake thriller series. And I have loved both these. I've read both of the books. I just loved them. The main character, Hazel, is a private detective, and she's awesome. I love her. I love her quirkiness. I love her personality, but I also love her tenaciousness and her won't stop till I find the bad guy type mentality. And I think that these are really, really good thrillers. They are dark. dark. She does get into some situations with very dark, very dangerous people. The Orphanage by the Lake is about child trafficking, and the Red Letter is about a killer that sends red letters to their victims right before they kill them. So Hazel gets kind of roped into solving this mystery, and I just have found these books so fun. They are grippy, they are page turning. You can just get immersed in here and solving this mystery, and I have a good time. I have read some comments on Goodreads that people haven't really liked the books or just thought they were just okay, but my opinion is that they are great thrillers, and if you like dark thrillers, then I think these are worth your time.
The next is another summer thriller. Like I said, I found a few summer thrillers, not summer romances. This one's called Dead of Summer by Jessa Maxwell. It comes out July 22nd. Years after her best friend mysteriously disappeared from a remote New England island, a young woman returns in search of answers in this atmospheric and scintillating thriller. It sounds like it's just another thriller up my alley. I just have this feeling of wanting to read like summer thrillers, so I was happy to find a few that I can choose from. And I don't have an ARC of that one, but if I get it, I will make an ARC review for you guys.
The next book is The Confessions by Paul Bradley Carr. This book sounds really cool. It takes place in the near future, and there is a supercomputer called Liam, and Liam makes all of your hard decisions for you. Liam tells you where to work, who to marry, and even things like who lives and dies. Like, the supercomputer decides everything for this new world, and you don't have to think much. All of a sudden, the supercomputer shuts down. And then a few days later, after people are starting getting adjusted to actually making decisions for themselves again, these letters start going out all over the world in every language, and it's all your bad secrets are in these letters. And so everybody starts freaking out because they have to confront their darkest secrets. You know, if they had an affair on their wife, then their wife finds out about it. If they murdered someone, then people know. And the world starts freaking out. And this woman decides, I have to track down the nun who taught this computer to be human, to try to save this world and stop all the ensuing chaos. And it says, and I'm going to read this verbatim. It says, when Maud receives a letter herself, Maud is the nun, when Maud receives a letter herself revealing Caitlyn's own forgivable sin, Caitlyn is the woman that tracked Maud down to try to stop all this chaos, the two women are forced into a deadly game of deceit as the world teeters on the brink. So Caitlyn, this woman who is trying to track down this nun and help get the world back righted, has a terrible secret that the nun finds out about, and then those two have issues. So sounds chaotic, sounds crazy. I like the near future supercomputer aspect of the book, so I think this sounds really fun, and let me know if you think this sounds fun too, or if it's just me.
Next, for July 22nd, I have a physical ARC, and it's from an author that typically does YA, specifically YA like thriller, I guess you would say, mystery, but this one is adult. And I haven't read her YA. Don't typically read YA, there are just a few, but I have been tempted to read her YA just because there's so much hype around her thrillers for the younger audience. This one is called Not Quite Dead Yet, and I had a friend who had read this because I didn't realize it was for adult, and they had the ARC and they absolutely loved this book, was raving about this book. And he also has read Christopher Pike when he was younger, and he said he felt like it was almost like a similar storyline to Christopher Pike. Even though Christopher Pike was for a younger audience, he said this was definitely adult. About a woman who basically is trying to solve her own murder, which the Christopher Pike one, she was like a ghost, but it's called Remember Me. Now this woman, she's not a ghost, and I don't know too much about the plot, but it sounds like she has a traumatic injury that is basically gonna cause her to die within a week. So she has like a deadline of a week to figure out who attacked her and why. so that she can solve her own murder because she's going to die from the injury. So it sounded really interesting, but his energy around this book made me really want to read it. So I am definitely going to be reading this, and I will give you guys an ARC review for it.
Final book for July 22nd is Arcana Academy by Elise Kova. Elise Kova is the author of Deal with the Elf King, which I have seen a lot of, I have not read, but this is her new series coming out, book 1. And this book sounds like everything that I would like in a romantasy. You're following Clara, who has the magical power of inking tarot cards, and it's not very descriptive on exactly what that means, but it's illegal, and she gets caught and she's sentenced to a prison, and the prince believes that she can help him ink a tarot card that he can use against the king. And he pulls her out of this prison and says, okay, well, you are going to come to the Arcana Academy where I can watch you, because he's also the headmaster of this Arcana Academy where people are taught magic. So we are going to bring you here, and you are going to be disguised as my bride-to-be and a student at the academy, and you're going to help me ink this tarot card to help defeat my father. So lots of tropes that we've already read, but how does that not sound fun? I mean, come on, y'all, how could you not want to read this book?
The next one I was again on the fence. I didn't know if I wanted to read it, and as much as I try not to let Goodreads ratings influence my choices, it is a lower rating on Goodreads, and it's not even out yet. So that means there are probably a lot of ARC reviews out there, and I do have the electronic ARC for this. It's called Ink Ribbon Red by Alex Pavesi, and it's July 22nd. It's compared to Agatha Christie and also Alex Michallon, who wrote Silent Patient. It's about and I've never seen this name before, but Anatole invites 5 of his oldest friends to his family home in the Wiltshire countryside to celebrate his 30th birthday. He requests they play a game called Motive Method Death. Everyone chooses 2 players at random and imagines scenarios where one kills the other, then writes a short story. It's only natural to use secrets and resentments when playing this game, and before long, private matters are out in the daylight. When a real murder is headed your way, will you be able to spot it in time? Sounds like what happens is a lot of those tensions and resentments, because they are talking about all the secrets out loud, end up making someone murderous, I guess. And it turns into, okay, who killed this person, and are they coming after me next? Sounded interesting, but I don't know. We'll see if I get to it. It wasn't gaining my interest because of the rating, though I don't like when that influences my reading decision, because people rate for so many different types of reasons. We all have our star system when we're putting it on there, so it could be something I actually like, who knows.
Starting out July 29th, I have Wrath of Dragons by Olivia Rose Darling. This is the sequel to Fear the Flames. Since it's book 2, I'm not going to go into a lot of description. I would say look up book 1 and see if this is a series that you want to start. I read book 1. I felt like it was okay. It didn't really knock my socks off. I think I rated it 3 stars on Goodreads. It was fun enough that I want to keep reading, but it wasn't like mind-blowing. So I am going to read Wrath of Dragons and hope that the books just keep getting better and better.
The next one I was on the fence with, but I do have an ARC, so I don't know if this is going to influence me to read it. I had messaged Amanda about it, and she didn't seem too interested about it at the time. And she just said, if someone reads it, let her know. But it's called Silvercloak by Lauren Stephen. Comes out July 29th. And some of the written pieces on here sounded a little interesting. It's about magic that you feel, it sounds like. And it says, in a world where magic is fueled by pleasure and pain, an obsessive detective infiltrates a gang of dark mages. Welcome to the Silvercloak Saga, an addictive new fantasy series. The Colorian's front door changed color depending upon who knocked. Sky blue for a charming acquaintance, heart red for a lover present, past, or future, clover green for a spiteful enemy, or a rich, jammy plum for an old friend, mustard yellow for family, and due to a slight inaccuracy with the spellwork, traveling salesman. The day the blood moons paid a visit, the door turned as black as the bottom of a whale. So, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to think, if I'm going to dive into this. Have you guys heard about it? Any hype that I should know about this one? If I do end up reading this, I will let you guys know in an ARC review.
Also, July 29th is a book I am so very excited for. I have not read it yet, even though I'm dying to read it. It has not worked out. I've had other books that I've had to prioritize. But that is Guess Again by Charlie Donnelly. Y'all know I love Charlie Donnelly's thrillers. I explain them as very layered, okay? His attention to detail is immaculate, and he just layers so many little interesting details and facts into his novels. I'm not gonna go much into this. I've talked about it a lot. It's been on my TBR list, so I'm not gonna go through a full description. I am gonna show you though the arc, because Charlie Donnelly's arcs have all been super cool. There's always these little extras that come with it. So this is what the arc looks like. And on the inside, there is a like self-assessment paper, which I'm sure is part of the story, and you're gonna find out what it means when you read it. And the papers that come with the arc, a lot of times the arcs come with little extras, like little photographs or little extras that tie into the novel somehow. There is the first letter, but then here's a bigger version of that self-assessment. And then this page, which seems super interesting to me, it says patient progress notes. So there's like a doctor's notes on a patient. So that sounds really cool. A blurb about the book says, a missing girl, a woman with a dangerous obsession, a former cop lured back by a killer with a sinister offer. So there's a little snippet of this book, but I mean, I'm gonna read everything that Charlie Donnelly writes. I want to go back and read his backlist, but I have been consistently reading his new releases when they come out, even before, because I have been so lucky that Kensington Publishers has sent me arcs. So I really, really want to get to this one and do an arc review for you all if I can before it comes out. We'll have to see.
The next I have started, but I put my tablet down because I've been doing other vlogs and other things have been on my plate, so I haven't had a chance to get, I think, maybe past a chapter, which can be infuriating because I really want to read it and I need to get back to it. But it's one of my favorite authors for thriller suspense, Sherry LaPena, and it's called She Didn't See It Coming, and it comes out July 29th. Lucy Foley, who I haven't read yet and a known thriller author, has said it's fiendishly plotted with whiplash twists and turns. Sherry LaPena is at the very top of her game here. And it's about a beloved wife and mother disappears, a luxurious condo building transforms into a potential crime scene, and the investigation begins. Can the detectives find her before it's too late? So I am definitely gonna get back into it, and I will let you guys know because I'll be doing an arc review. Keep your eyes out for that. The next one is a translated, I believe it's fiction, but also could slot into thriller / horror. It's called A Twist of Fate, and I'm going to put it on the screen because I do not want to butcher the name of the author, and it's translated by S.L. Park, and it takes place, I believe it's in South Korea. Two women meet on a train, each running from a deadly secret. When one disappears, the other decides to take her place for better or for worse. And the cover, as you can see, is very striking. I thought it was interesting, and I haven't done a translated book for a while, and I'm forgetting the name of the one that I had read that was also like a thriller, but it had a lot of like either science fiction or fantasy. It was like a mixed genre, and I'm forgetting the name of it, but if I happen to remember it, I'll put it on the screen so you guys can see it. I can look at my Goodreads. It's been a little while since I read it, but that was probably the last translated work that I have read, and I probably should read more translated work and mix up my TBR because I love reading all kinds of different books. I do plan on reading Twist of Fate. I don't know if it'll be for an arc review, but we do plan on doing 2 months of recap of books that we don't do videos for, so you may hear about it when I do one of those. The next one is another one I almost didn't put on my list because It sounded interesting, but I think once I look at it more, I'll be able to tell if I really want to read it. So it probably won't be until it actually comes out. And I think it's a new paperback, not a hardcover. It's called White Mirror, and it's by, I don't know if this is a publisher or not. It said by Tinkered Thinking. I don't know what that is. I didn't do research before I had made this video, but it comes out August 1st. So we are into August for our most anticipated. And this White Mirror is about a collection of 31 original stories, each one more thought-provoking and mind-bending than the last. Anytime mind-bending is in the description, I tend to want to read it. That description tends to make me want to put it on a list on my TBR, makes me want to read it. That is what made me put it on this list. And I may end up reading it. I may just read a couple from the collection. I don't always like short stories, is part of the issue why I'm hesitating, but I'm gonna check it out once it comes out.
Moving on to August 5th, I have The Deathless One by Emma Hamm. This book is a dark romantasy. You're following Jessamine, and she has been raised to be a leader for her people, but then a plague hits her land and her people are suffering and dying, and she's trying real hard to save them. And the only way she can do that is by entering into a political marriage to join her land with another land, and hopefully this other land can help, you know, revive her people and strengthen them. But on her wedding night, her husband murders her to try to take control of everything. So in her death, she meets what's called the Deathless One. He is a death god, and he wants to be resurrected. So he makes a deal with her that he will help her survive this and get her people back if she will resurrect him. And along this journey of them helping each other out, they get feelings for each other, and it says Jessamine never wants this deal to end, and she's starting to wonder if the throne she actually wants is the one by his side. It says this is the first book of a trilogy, so this is going to be a trilogy. It kind of reminded me of a darker version of the book I read by Scarlett St. Clair. Oh, man, why can't I think the name of it? With Hades. Oh my gosh. I can't think of the name of it. I'll just pop a picture up here once I research it and figure out the name. But I did read a book that I really enjoyed. It wasn't as dark as this one, it sounds like, but it was a romance book with Hades in it. And it kind of gave me that vibe, I guess, just because you have the god of death in here, and they end up falling in love. That's really the only things they have in common. But my mind immediately went to that book, so I added this one to my list.
The next one's a new fantasy coming out called The Deathless One by Emma Hamm, and it's coming out August 5th. It's about a princess murdered at the altar makes a deal with the god of death for vengeance and to save her people in this first and unique romantasy trilogy. I haven't had a chance to talk to Amanda about it, and it might be one maybe we'll end up doing together as either an ARC review or just a vlog when it comes out. I do have the electronic ARC for this, and it seemed interesting. As you guys know, I like the mythology type blend of fantasy, so that drew me in because it seems almost like Games Gods Play type of book. So I plan on checking that out. If Amanda wants to do it, then we will have a video for it.
Last book for August 5th is The Locked Ward by Sarah Buchanan. I have read a novel by her before and thought it was okay. This book sounded really fun to me because it reminded me a little bit of Ward D by Frida McFadden, which I really enjoyed. But I don't know, psychiatric hospitals just always seem intriguing to me when they're written about in books. I don't know why. But they do, and I wanted to read this. This is about Georgia, who is accused of murder in this family that she is married into. Someone dies, they accuse her of murder, and they lock her up in a psychiatric ward. And then her estranged twin sister, Amanda, comes to visit her, and Georgia keeps telling Amanda, I didn't do this, you have to get me out of here, it's crazy in here, get me out. And Amanda just can't abandon her sister, so she starts to dig into what really happened, and there you go, there's your story. So I'm excited about this because you have an unreliable narrator, which personally I like, and you're in a psychiatric ward, so you really can't rely on the word of anybody in the psychiatric hospital because they're probably there for a reason.
The next one is by an author that I originally wanted to read their last book, and I'm forgetting the name of it. And I should have written it down, and I did not. 13 Months Haunted. And his name is Jimmy Giuliano. It comes out August 12th. This is a little longer of an explanation, and I felt like there was no way to talk about this shorter. And it's about Piper Lowry, a public library clerk, can tell right away there's something strange about the new girl in 8th grade, Avery Wallace. She won't touch any kind of technology, not even the computers at the library, and her mother comes every day to school with her, refusing to leave her side, not even when Avery uses the bathroom. Seems weird to have that in the description. Whispers and rumors are that Avery's mom is a witch. Piper befriends her, but quickly realizes there's something dark inside Avery Wallace. Sounded interesting, and I really wanted to read the previous book by Jimmy Giuliano, and I didn't have a chance to. It had a very striking cover. So this may be the first one that I end up reading. And I do have an electronic ARC, but as I told you guys, I might not get to all of them. It might be another one I just don't get to. We'll see. But you can keep an eye out. If I do, you'll see an ARC review.
August 12th, I have We Are All Guilty Here by Karen Slaughter. I have already read this book. I did get a physical ARC from the publisher. I was so excited to get that book, and I am going to save my thoughts. I have filmed an ARC review, and it will be coming out in July, so stay tuned.
The next one is by an author that it's a book that Amanda loved, and I really wanted to read. I think at the time we both had the ARC, and I wanted to do it with her, and I think something else ended up pulling my attention. But The Book of Doors was the one by Gareth Brown that we were going to do, but she did, and I think she did an ARC review, and that one's out in paperback now. But he has a new one called Society of Unknowable Objects, and it comes out August 12th, and it is a standalone novel, and it's about a trio of seemingly everyday people, and they're members of a search society tasked with finding and protecting hidden magical objects, ordinary items with extraordinary properties. And that's all the description said. And sometimes I'm okay with not having much. I think going into books and only knowing a snippet is probably the best way to go into them, because you're going to discover a lot while you're reading instead of just knowing the whole plot going in. So I am interested in trying him, either The Book of Doors or this one. I do have the electronic ARC for this. We'll see if I get to it, but keep your eyes out. I have a feeling Amanda's going to want to read this one too.
Also on August 12th is a book I'm very excited about called The Society of Unknowable Objects by Gareth Brown. And this author completely shocked me with how much I liked The Book of Doors. And when I finished The Book of Doors, I had said in my review that I wish there were more books set in this world. And although I didn't exactly get my wish, it does not say that this book is related to The Book of Doors. This is very similar. You are following 3 people in this secret society that know about these magical objects, and they meet every 6 months to protect these objects and just catch up and make sure that everything is fine. But in comes a person that knows about these objects and is trying to obtain them, probably for nefarious purposes. So it's very similar to Book of Doors, but also different. And I am very excited to get more of this world and this idea of having magical objects or magical books, and these sinister people that want to collect them for evil. I'm just very excited to get more from this author in this same trope, because it was just, I was really shocked at how much I liked The Book of Doors, and I expect nothing less from the Society of Unknowable Objects. Next book on August 12th is Too Old for This by Samantha Downing. This book sounded just fun and quirky. It is a thriller. In this book, you're following an older woman who seemingly committed murders when she was younger. She has changed her identity, moved away, and had just been living a very boring life until one day a independent journalist shows up asking her some very annoying questions, and she starts to think that she might need to kill this guy to get her off of him and keep her secrets a secret. So we'll see. It sounded fun. I have not read this author before, but I have seen her name before on other thrillers. So Samantha Downing is a new to me author, and I just thought this book sounded a little fun. The last book on August 12th is a book I have a physical arc for, and that is The Witches. And that is The Witch's Orchard by Archer Sullivan. This sounds like a true crime type thriller. You're following Annie, and Annie, straight out of high school, decided to join the Air Force. So she escaped her small town, joined the Air Force. Years later, she has become a private investigator, and she gets called to do a job because 10 years ago, 3 women went missing in this like rural Appalachia town. 2 of them are still missing, and 1 girl was returned, and the brother of one of the missing girls wants to hire her to find out what happened to his sister. So nothing new as far as tropes go, but it just sounded, the way the description read and this character of Annie just sounded so intriguing to me. I would highly recommend, if this is something you're interested in, reading the description, because it really describes things a little bit better than I can. Although it doesn't really sound like a new trope or anything new to the mystery genre, it did sound interesting, and I got this physical copy, and I am very appreciative of this arc, and I'm looking forward to reading it.
The next one, I feel mostly I was drawn to it because it is such a gorgeous cover. As you can see, they're doing sprayed edges, and it was just gorgeous. I have yet to read T. Kingfisher. I know they write a lot of books, but I haven't had a chance to read any of them yet. And this one's called Hemlock and Silver. It comes out August 19th, and it's a dark reimagining of Snow White, steeped in poison, intrigue, and treason of the most magical kind. Again, very short description. I was mostly drawn in to what the book looked like because it's gorgeous. And I know Amanda had read something by T. Kingfisher, and I think a couple other people I know have read them, and it seemed to be like mixed reviews. No one was really like, oh my God, you need to read them, that I can remember. But I do want to end up reading something by T. Kingfisher, so maybe this will be it.
On August 19th, I have a book. It's probably also going to be on Jen's list. It's called Murder by the Book by Amy Schwamberg. And this is a thriller murder mystery. A young woman on college campus is murdered, and she is posed to look like the Ophelia painting from Hamlet. And a detective comes, and he is doing the investigation, but he's not really well versed in literature. He misses some clues. Meanwhile, there's a professor at this college that stumbles upon the scene. She deciphers some of the clues of the Shakespeare book and gives the detective some information regarding these clues that he missed. So naturally, they start working together to solve this murder mystery crime. And I just find this interesting. There's going to be a lot of references to Shakespeare. There is a college campus murder mystery. Obviously, when a murderer is posing their victim in a certain way for people to see or find, they are projecting some kind of greater message. And I find all of those aspects fascinating, and I'm always interested in those cases, whether they're fiction or real, because you're kind of trying to understand like what the murderer was thinking. And as a sane, logical person, that's kind of difficult to do sometimes. So it's always curiosity with me. I'm always curious to know why someone would think that, or what were their motivations, or what's going on in their head. So this sounded like a really intriguing murder mystery to me.
Next one really reminded me of the cover for Divine Rivals, and I think it's because it looks like a certain type of typewriter on the front cover. It's called Murder by the Book by Amy Schomburg. As you can see on the cover, looks like Divine Rivals. It comes out August 19th. It's about a serial killer is targeting female college students, leaving their bodies posed as famous women from literature, and the police are at a loss with the clues, but a book-obsessed professor attempts to take on the killer. Kind of interesting. I haven't heard of that type of plot. I am very intrigued by that, and I plan on seeking that one out when it comes out. The next one was another one I was struggling with how to talk about it without going on and on and on because it seemed like it was a longer description. But it's called The Once and Future Me by Melissa Pace. I saw this one a while ago and they were promoting it well before the release date, obviously, which is August 19th. And it's a debut, but it just had such an interesting premise. And there was a hesitation by me because I have a feeling that it's going to be an unreliable narrator. And I am, if you watch our channel, you know I'm not really a fan of the unreliable narrator. It's about a woman arriving at a state psychiatric hospital and she remembers nothing of her life. Already unreliable narrator. Doctors tell her she's a paranoid schizophrenic committed for her violent delusions. She has visions of a dystopian future in which frantic scientists urge her to complete a mission. What's real and who is she really? And she does have a husband. I didn't write all the details down, but one other point is she has a husband who knows her and she's talking to, but again, she could just be imagining this person. I think it's enough though to pull me in and get past the unreliable narrator because it just sounds so interesting to me. I feel like it would make a really good movie depending on who made it, but I definitely plan on reading it. And I do have the electronic art for that. We have 5 more to go. The next one, and they are all, I think, 8/26. So 5 books for August 26th, right before Labor Day. The first one is Not Who You Think by Arbor Sloan, and it's about the copycat of a killer made famous by a true crime author. Kidnaps a classmate of the author's daughter in this twisty thriller perfect for fans of Paula Hawkins. And I am a fan of Paula Hawkins. I have read The Blue Hour, which I did an ARC review for, and she also wrote Girl on the Train. I really like her writing. And so hopefully that is an accurate depiction of how this book would read. And I feel like it's one of those twisty thrillers that I could get sucked into. So I'm looking forward to reading that.
All right, we've made it to the final day, August 26th. And the first book I'm going to talk about is called How Bad Things Can Get by Darcy Coates. This book is about a social media influencer who invites hundreds of his followers to this island to basically just vacation and party for a week. But of course, things get messy. People start getting murdered, and you have to uncover these hidden island secrets. The description also mentions a young woman that is among these partygoers, and she has a it says a bloody past, which she escaped from some kind of cult, and she is somehow tied to this island, even though she tries to like stay out of everything and keep her head down and just, you know, have a nice relaxing week. She gets somehow roped into this island and its history. So that just seemed kind of fun. Sometimes I'm in the mood for these just fast paced, you know, you have to stretch your imagination type of thrillers. And I think this could be a kind of fun thriller to throw in the mix of all the books that I read.
The next one is an author typically found in horror that I haven't tried yet. I've been wanting to try. Her name's Darcy Coates. It comes out obviously August 26th, and her new one is called How Bad Things Can Get. It's about an island called Prosperity Island. Its history is filled with shipwrecks, cannibalism, and a string of unexplained deaths. And now it hosts the party of the century. Guests go missing, and something dark is emerging once again. Sounded interesting, and I have been wanting to read her, so I may just end up reading this one because I do have the electronic ARC, so we'll see what happens.
The next book on August 26th that I want to talk about is called Cottonmouth by R.F. Wong. And even if you have not read fantasy, you still have heard about this author. She has very popular books out there. I know Jen read Yellowface by this author, which is not a fantasy, but I think that was her most recent release before this one. And Cottonmouth sounds super interesting. It's about a young woman studying magic, and she has all these careers and aspirations, but one of her professors ends up dying in a magic trick gone wrong. So she decides, you know what, I need his recommendation to get a job when I graduate and get out of this school. So I am actually going to hell to find him and get his letter of recommendation for me. And unfortunately for her though, a classmate also decides that that's his best option. So they have to come together and try to find this professor. I think it might be an enemies to lovers situation, because they are definitely competitive at the very least, if not enemies, at least very competitive in the beginning. And the description alludes to the fact that they might have to work together to get their end goal. So that sounded really fun. The cover of this book sounds really intriguing. It's almost like labyrinth-y, and I think that that sounds really fun. I haven't read this author before, so why not start now? Why not start with this book that is intriguing and seems very fun? And I think that it's time I finally read R.F. Wong.
Next one is by R.F. Kuang. I read Yellowface by her, and I have been wanting to read other books by her. She has several. Babel is one of them. One of my friends said that Babel seemed intimidating, but once she read it, it actually was really good. And The Poppy Wars is another one that I think looked interesting. This one's called Catabasis, and it's being compared to Dante's Inferno. And it's about two graduate students must put aside their rivalry and journey to hell to save the professor's soul, perhaps at the cost of their own. Her writing is really unique. She is definitely an interesting person, so I really wanted to read that one. I do have the electronic arc. I told you I have a lot of electronic arcs. It's to the point that really feels anxiety inducing, because I know I'm not going to get to all of them, but hopefully we'll get to that one. The next one is from an author I have read before, and I think it was called Greenwich Park, if I remember correctly. It was her debut, and it was a few years back. And this one's called The Break-In. I really liked the cover for this one too. Just striking colors, and the way they have the cover, it just stuck out to me. Obviously still August 26. After killing an intruder in self-defense, a wealthy London mother must unravel a terrifying mystery filled with twists and turns. And that's all I wrote. I didn't really read, because sometimes they just have this like blurb and then it goes into a lot of the details. I don't always read all the details, because once again, I love going, especially with thrillers, I love going in as blind as possible so that it hits me different. I just think I like books more when I don't know the plot inside out. I definitely want to read that one. I do have the electronic arc, so you may see an arc review from me.
The final book that I have for this video, August 26th, Forget Me Not by Stacey Willingham. This is a thriller about Claire. 22 years ago, Claire had an older sister that disappeared. Her older sister's blood was found in the back of a car. The owner of said car was arrested, case closed. People forgot about Claire's sister. People have moved on. And then all of a sudden, her dad asked Claire to come back home, and in doing so, she ends up finding a diary, and this diary raises some questions in her mind, either about this town or about her sister's death, and she kind of goes into this spiral in uncovering more and more information. So I don't know, this is definitely a trope that seems to be reoccurring in thrillers, but I don't get tired of it. I mean, the missing person, 20 years later, finding information that makes you think maybe the wrong person was arrested or there's more to uncover. I mean, that seems to be coming up a lot, and I don't know. I'm not mad at it. I'm not tired of it, and I want to read this book.
Last but not least is Forget Me Not by Stacey Willingham. She wrote Flicker in the Dark, which I really, really loved. It was during a vlog where me and Amanda and our significant others chose the book for us, and then we revealed that on screen, and he had chosen Flicker in the Dark of the choices that I had for him to pick from, and it ended up being a really good choice. I felt very riveted into that story, and this one also sounds interesting. I definitely wanted to read more by Stacey Willingham after reading that. This one is about 22 years ago. Claire Campbell's older sister, Natalie, disappeared shortly after her 18th birthday. Days later, her blood was found in a car. A man was arrested, and the case was swiftly closed. Claire has tried to forget her traumatic past, and she moved to the city and then was rising in the ranks of being an investigative journalist. An unexpected call from her father forces her to go back home, and she has to face everything from her past again. She ends up getting a job at a nearby farm, and it leads her to new clues about her sister's disappearance. And it sounds a little bit how she built the plot for Flicker in the Dark. So it does make me interested in reading that one. I definitely think I'll be reading that one. Thanks guys for watching all the books for July and August. There are so many that I'm excited about. I don't know if I could pick just one that I am most excited about in all of the picks. But I am really excited to read the new Geneva Rose. I think that one's going to be interesting, even if it's not one of her thrillers. What are you excited about from July and August? Is there one that sticks out to you? Something that wasn't on either of our lists that you are really looking forward to? Let us know in the comments. Would love to know what you guys are excited about reading this coming summer, even if it's something that's already out. I'm excited to see what's on Amanda's list, and I always love seeing which ones we both talk about or have on our list, because we do this separately and we kind of surprise each other almost with what's on our list. And I love seeing the overlap of the titles that we pick. And sometimes she has ones that I didn't know. So I love seeing that too. Thanks guys for watching, and until next time.